Welcome, 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 one and all, to Pathetic, the podcast. The gang is all here. We have had quite a weekend here in New York. We got parades, we got championships, we got all kinds of stuff going on. Jeff, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great, but we are in that dead time of sports where the NBA finals are over. Baseball is always going to be baseball, but we're in the middle of baseball, so no one's going crazy over anything. But I don't know if you guys watched the UFC White House card this weekend or saw clips. It was one of the coolest sporting events I've ever seen. So right now, like I'm all UFC and Yankees. One of the coolest things I've ever seen watching that event. But outside of that, man, we don't have much going on right now after the Knicks won the title. But we'll always have something to talk about. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy, how are we doing?
Mike, I'm doing great, and I'm shocked that I'm doing great because I've been a Knick hater for so long. And as I told you on the last episode, it's impossible to hate this team. Impossible. And I had so much joy seeing them win and seeing the ticker tape parade for them today. And I feel like such a fraud. But the thing is, I've looked at it objectively, and I love the guys on this team. I really do. And it was a lot of fun, and it was tremendous to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get into the Knicks in just a second, but before we get into anything else, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, check us out wherever you get your podcast, check out our socials. We're going to be away for traveling. Teddy's going to be on a cruise. I'm going to be in England. Check us out. We'll probably post a couple of updates there to let everybody know we're still alive and kicking in the UK. I'm going to go see a couple of World Cup matches while we're there in England on TV with the regular European soccer hooligans. So, Godspeed there. But we would be very much remiss if we didn't start with the Knicks championship. Saturday night was unbelievable. I posted the video right after they won from my bar in Queens that I was at with my brother and a couple of our friends. It just reminds you of how awesome it is for a championship. It's been so long for us. Jeff, you've been lucky enough to have a couple of giant Super Bowls that have gotten mixed in there. But Teddy and I have been starving for me, 15 years. For Teddy, a little bit longer. But 2003 was the last Devils one?
2003 was the last Devils one.
Yep.
So it's been 23 years.
Yep. So it's been a long time for us here, and a long time for New York to be together looking at one of these things. So, Jeff, you haven't been on since the finals really have gotten going. But your thoughts on the finals, your thoughts on this championship and this team, and what has gone on over the last 2 weeks here.
Yeah, before I get to that, I got to apologize to the listeners or the viewers too, about my quality. I have a new computer coming, so that'll be here shortly. But yeah, listen, the Knicks. First of all, this team deserves it. Whether you like them or not, they earned every single game. And I do have a hard time, figuring out, like, was this a Spurs choke job more than it was a Knicks win? And I really hate having that conversation because both could be the same, right? The Knicks won fair and square. But I got to tell you guys, the Spurs choking stood out to me even more. I mean, every single game with double-digit leads, just absolute garbage in the fourth quarter, including Wemby, who's got a big mouth but doesn't really back it up when it comes down to it. He's very good. We know he's good. He'll be fine. But listen, this is a team that absolutely deserves it. The fans kind of pissed me off a little bit, I'm not going to lie, after some of the stuff we saw. I know it's only a small percentage, but I could see why people don't like it. Like Portnoy went on this crazy rant about the fans. But the team itself, it's one of the more likable teams in New York that I've ever seen, quite frankly. For example, Jalen Brunson in the post-game press conference was asked about the game. That was the first question. And the first thing he said, he started crying, talking about a kid, I think it was from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that I guess passed away, right?
Yeah.
And he started crying. Like, that's the first thing. What a good guy. Like, it's very hard to not root for Brunson. Same thing with that whole team. Mike Brown's a good guy. And again, the emotional side, a part of it, the Knicks deserve this. This is a team that doesn't give up. We saw it all playoffs. They never have a good first quarter. Then they come back in the third or the second, third, and fourth and just do an incredible job. So, I'm not going to pretend that I'm celebrating because I'm sort of I said this a bunch of times, like a parachute Knicks fan, but I'm definitely happy. I'm definitely happy for them, happy for the good fans. And again, just a well-deserved championship for that organization.
It really was. It really was. I mean, everybody hates Dolan, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why exactly they hate him, other than I guess for a long time he was a pretty crappy owner. And he had that run in with Oakley, and honestly, Oakley's insane. He's
Yeah, he's
completely
nuts.
insane. But what he said after he got the trophy was he apologized to New York for it taking this long. And then someone coming up to Jalen Brunson the day after and bringing up something that Becky Hammond 2 years ago said on a podcast, that they couldn't win with Jalen Brunson. He's a 6'2" nothing. And when they asked Jalen Brunson about that, he says, I didn't make a comment about it then. I'm not going to make a comment about it now. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yep.
It's just, I'm shocked. I really am shocked, because when you look at the current sports stars today, they are the biggest bunch of babies and attention seekers. And then you got a guy like Jalen Brunson, who just does what he has to. Like his father said, they doubted him when he won the most games as a guard in Illinois. They doubted him when he was at Villanova, and they doubted him in the pros. What else does he have to prove? And I agree 100%.
And I will say this: you said it, Jeff. They've deserved every single thing they got. They went out and took every single one of these games. They were not handed anything. They went out and took those games back. They made them games. They made the other team sweat in the fourth quarter, and the pressure got to them, and the pressure hasn't gotten to the Knicks because they've been there. The last 4 years, they've had deep playoff runs every single year. They've learned how to win, and the nucleus of this team is still going to be there.
Yeah.
They really only have two guys who are potentially maybe gone. Mitchell Robinson, who has been, a key part, but there's a chance to get another center in the draft that could potentially help out there. And Landry Shamet, who was hot and cold. He was unbelievably hot at one point, but you can always find another shooter. But the rest of this team, Towns, Bridges, Hart, Brunson, all these guys are here for a couple of years now. So there is a chance. There is no reason why this team can't make another deep run next year. And the way they play in the playoffs, you're never out of any of these games. It doesn't matter how many points you're down. And God forbid if they actually were able to find a way to get off to a good start in the first quarter, this team might go on one of these crazy runs like they did this year and have 13 straight playoff wins. That was an absolute epic playoff run that you're going to be talking about for a long time in New York, because we don't get playoff runs like that. There are no easy runs where you're sweeping teams and you're blowing out teams in the playoffs and you blow out teams in the Super Bowl. That doesn't happen in this town. We are always the underdog. We're kind of the scrappy group who makes their way through. It was awesome to see, and it's awesome to see the whole city get around this team and to really have fun. Like I said, I was in Queens on Saturday night. There were fireworks going off all over the place. It was such a jovial, fun atmosphere in Queens. Forget what was going on a couple of blocks of Manhattan. That's going to happen. Like I said, 63 arrests throughout the whole city. I mean, that's a normal Saturday night in Manhattan. I don't know what you think. And one bus got burned down. Like that's a normal Saturday night. Like, come on now. Majority of people were having a good time. They just everybody looks at the stuff on social media for the bad apples, but great day today, great parade, great comments from everybody. Everybody knew what they were doing on the stage, which was good. There no real foul ups there, and it was just a fun fun day of celebrating. So
It was, and again, they deserve it. They didn't. You said it right. They weren't given really any of these games. They had to fight for every single game in crunch time, and that tip in by Anunoby
Oh,
was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, that's right up there with the David Tyree helmet catch.
yep. And
Right.
if you
I mean, I don't think I'm not going to say it trumps it because I'm obviously more of a Giant fan, so I'm biased. But man, if you're a Knicks fan and you want to battle me on that, I would accept some of your arguments. That was just an unbelievable, again, not lucky by the way. Not That was a heads up play in the right spot. He ran to the basket after the ball was shot, knowing that was a possibility, and it was just so heads up. And Uncle Ted, to your point about Brunson, how he was always like overlooked, sort of the underdog. That's exactly why he's how he is, right? Most of these guys, the stars that you mentioned, they get the spoils before they get any victories, right? Brunson had to work for everything, and he was always, always overlooked by everybody since college, even in the NBA, even as a Knick for a little while. And I think that's why he's so humble, right? He sort of appreciates where he is right now, as opposed to like, I don't know, even like a Wemby right now, who's such a douche because he's so loved by everybody, no matter what. But I'll tell you, I don't know if they love him right now. To be
no,
honest, the way he played those free throws at the end, stupid basketball by him. So it's
but
very interesting
what was
looking
the
at.
press conference thing about where he said, "Talk to you guys again, never, bye"?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what does that mean? Was Yuri going back to France to play? What are you doing?
Well, he also said he was asked. I forget what game it was. It might have been after game two or one. He was asked, who are you winning this for? Who do you want to win for? And he said, myself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, everybody wants to win for themselves, but you've got to be smarter than that through the media. You got to say, listen, you got to have the politically correct answer and say, my team, the city, all the stuff that the fact that he said myself, I couldn't believe he said that. I'm like, did he really just say myself? So,
he's gonna blame the language barrier for a lot of the stuff that
yeah,
he comes out with, which
yes,
is always gonna be the
Yeah.
crutch there. But he certainly did not come off looking like a guy who's ready to win a championship and to lead a team to a championship. Didn't look like he was there throughout this whole series. So
yeah,
I'll say
but
this, Jeff, to you about the Tyree catch, which I still think is just the most unbelievable play. But think about the OG play. This wasn't a close back and forth game like the Giants Patriots game was.
yeah.
They had come back from 29 points. If they lose that game after coming back from 29 points, that might have been a problem.
They might have lost the series after that.
They might have. And
Yeah.
OG putting that in, put a capper on that. You can't kill us. You can't.
Yep, that's a great point, Uncle Teddy. It's like game. It's like after one of the games when I'm not sorry, actually the Cavs series. We talked about this, Uncle Teddy, when you were down here. We're like, after that horrible loss the Cavs had down, or they were up, whatever the number was.
Yeah,
22, I think. Yeah,
like the series is over. That's it. Like you're so deflated.
We said that.
Yep, and I think that happened to the Spurs after that game. Like you knew after that game it was done. There was no chance.
And you know what the crazy thing is? A couple things. One, that out of the top 5 comebacks in NBA Finals history, the 2023 Knicks have the first, the third, and the fifth of those top 5.
Yeah.
Number one. And then number 2, shout out to Mike Breen for calling an unbelievable final. I don't know if you heard, but he was ready to, if Jalen Brunson hits that 3 that OG tips in, he was going to do a triple bang for ready, because he told them on a podcast that if you win, if it's the Knicks hitting a game-winning shot in the finals, he will do a triple bang for the first time, which he's never done before. He's done double bangs in the finals before, but he's never done a triple bang, and that was going to happen if that Brunson 3 went in.
Amazing. There's no words to describe it. Amazing is really all you can say.
Yeah, to be a Knicks fan since you were 7 years old and get to call the finals and to celebrate. And he was trying to call it as down the middle as he could. I heard he talked to Joe Buck before the game because Joe Buck, when the Cardinals won, he was obviously very much the Cardinals fans were upset with him because he was a little too down the middle. He didn't want to make it seem like he was such a homer there, but he told Breen to let it rip once they're going to win, and Breen did an unbelievable job. So
I thought Breen was very down the middle.
For sure.
You know, and he's a great announcer.
Yeah, he
absolutely.
is. Great announcer. And Joe Buck should be the last one to talk about being down the middle because he's the biggest homer and Yankee hater and New York hater in all of sports. So, Joe Buck, do me a favor, shut your mouth.
I'd have a lot of trouble doing that job, like calling a game or something. Like, I'd be down the middle for like the first 2 minutes, and all of a sudden, throw the ball.
Yeah, right.
That's not easy to do, man, especially if you grew up a fan. Now, obviously, the guy's getting paid, generational wealth, so you got to man up and do, your job. But, I mean, listen, man, that sports fan will always creep back in you no matter what.
Of course.
I can never imagine doing that job for, like, the Yankees or the Giants and playing down the middle like I'm not rooting for anybody,
Right. If you're doing the home radio, you can do that. You could be a little homerish if you're doing the hometown radio. But if you're on a national broadcast like that, people are going to get upset if you're too homerish there, which, I'm fine with because,
Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I listened, they had it on YouTube, the final minute of the one where OG tipped it in to win the game. And I thought that, I forget who the announcer is, but I know the color commentator is Monica McNutt. And I thought they did a great job on radio.
Well, yeah.
They did a great job on radio.
They were great. And they got emotional after they won on Saturday. They were both feeling like, the weight is coming off everybody's shoulders. So
it was great. It was what a weekend. What a weekend.
Yeah, what a weekend. What a day today with the parade. And, we are rocking and rolling. And the Joe Buck is a perfect segue to the other New York team that's rolling right now is the New York Yankees. Jeff, we haven't talked since Judge's injury, so I want to get your thoughts there on what you think is going on with this team with Judge and how we can continue this role. Because right now you look up and all of a sudden we're 3.5 games up in the division because Tampa had to go out and play the Dodgers, and the Dodgers showed us exactly who Tampa Bay was for those 3 games. So, but want to get your thoughts on the Judge injury and this Yankee team where we are at our first kind of check-in point here.
Well, look, Aaron Judge getting injured is never a good thing, no matter what. But the Yankees, because of their great pitching, can survive, right? I think they're going to need him in the playoffs, obviously. You're going to need that big stick and just his fielding and his IQ, everything he does. But the Yankees pitching is just, it's good enough to survive without Judge, and thank goodness that Aaron Judge doesn't have like a season-ending injury because his injury was a little scary. If you look at some of the history of the guys getting that kind of an injury. But listen, 3.5 games up right now, which is surprising because we were down 5 games at one point, and then it was tied for a long time. And, again, look, when you have the pitching the Yankees have, and listen, the Yankees are a good baseball team. So, look, we want Judge back as soon as possible. I don't want to hear people say, oh, maybe they're better off without Judge because people feel more. I don't want to hear that garbage. But the fact that they can survive like this without Judge, it's great, so we just want to keep this going. And listen, the Rays, I like the Rays. I think they're a solid team. They outkicked their coverage for a little while. They're not as good as what we saw in the beginning of the year with them. I think the Yankees are better. In fact, I think they're much better, pound for pound. But listen, as a Yankee fan right now, that they've just been consistent this year. I feel like, they've had a couple of small little glitches and slumps, but they haven't had that disastrous slump yet. So if they can continue what they're doing, I don't think there's any question they're winning this division.
I agree.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Teddy, any thoughts on the Knicks here?
I mean, on the Yankees.
Not the Knicks, the Yankees. Sorry.
Mike's still in Nick mode.
I'm still in Nick mode. I'm sorry.
Well, the only thing I'll say is that, like Jeff, you said, thank God it's not a season-ending injury. You don't know that yet because I think the two worst medical staffs are for the two New York baseball teams, and
That's a good point. They are bad.
And them saying that, oh, he'll be back in September. We'll see. We'll see. And I hope he is, because I said to Mike the other day that, getting him back in September is like making a big trade at the trade deadline and putting him back in your lineup.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine anybody beating the Yankees. I don't. Tampa Bay would have to get really lucky in a short series. No one from the Central is going to be a problem. That Central is so they wet their pants when they have to play the Yankees, and I think the West is going to be the same thing. And I think the Yankees are going to the World Series. I can't imagine them not, unless something disastrous happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're feeling pretty good. I like what Aaron Judge did say that if you get a Knicks World Title and a Yankees World Series title in October, you're gonna cure world peace. So that's what his quote was, I believe. So, they're riding this momentum. They had the two guys throw the first pitch. I think it was Brunson and Hart yesterday, and they both threw strikes right down the middle. Unlike that clown Wemby who threw it to the backstop in his opening his pitch at Yankee Stadium. So
Can you be that athletic when you're Wemby? Now, look, I know he's French and baseball. It's like us, hitting a I don't know. I don't even know what a good example is. Like a
eating a croissant,
whatever the hell it's called, like a crochet club.
Right.
I don't know what
a crochet club.
You would think he'd know how to throw a ball.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he had to throw a strike, because I'm sure Brunson and Hart played baseball when they were younger. But I mean, his ball was like, I think my sister could have thrown a better baseball than him. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I really think she could have. That was unbelievable. And they played that all week, by the way. All week. During the Knicks series, him just botching that pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both threw strikes down the middle, man. That was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will keep up on baseball here. We are kind of, like I said, now that the World Series, the NBA Finals is over, the Stanley Cup Finals are over, football's not getting started yet, and baseball is trudging along. With one of our teams worthy of talking about, another one not so much. We'll leave them where they are for right now.
Well, hold on 1 second, Mike. I got to ask Teddy a question. Are you completely done with the Mets as far as like hope that they can
No hope.
make a part?
No,
Because I think they're like 5 or 6 games behind.
No.
Do you trust they can maybe get hot?
No.
And find? Yeah, not at all. Okay.
No, not at all.
There's some Met fans that are still on board, by the way.
Because they're morons. Because they're morons. You can't. Listen, I just don't. They don't hit enough. This team is just so poorly constructed that there's no way they can go on the kind of a run they need to go on in order to really have a shot at making a wild card or even making some noise getting into the wild card. That David Stearns still has a job is absolutely baffling to me. Because, and again, it strengthens my argument that Cohen doesn't care about the Mets. Cohen cares about his casino and his project with all the buildings and all the stuff he's building out there by the stadium. Because for you to allow this embarrassment to go on, I don't know if anybody's looked recently, but Pete Alonso has 16 homers and 48 RBIs. So he's on his way to a 38, 110, 115, which you tell me this team couldn't use that? Well, where is Polanco? Where's Polanco right now? Where is Polanco? Now, Bichette is hitting the ball. They're talking about Bichette's going to opt out. I'm begging you to opt out. I'm begging you to opt out. Because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that you're going to... please, you get me started on this, and to me, it all comes down to Stearns and Cohen. I can't be mad at the players because that's just the team. You know, they're there, you know. But I'll tell you this, I'm so disgusted by the way they're playing, and not because of the players, but because of this team that has been put together. It's an absolute disgrace. That's it. And I told Mike I wouldn't talk about them again until they got to 500, which is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Well, we will keep things up there. We have a couple of minutes left here, guys. I want to open it up. Anything else in the sports world that you guys wanted to touch on? I have one thing I'll touch on with World Cup, but I'll let you guys go first with anything else going on. I don't think we've gotten your thoughts, Jeff, on Sorsby or Teddy on Sorsby. What are your guys' thoughts there?
Go ahead, Uncle Ted. I know it's
You know what's funny about Sorsby is I told Ted Jetman last year in the middle of the college football season about this guy Sorsby, and he laughed at me, and he said that this guy's garbage, complete garbage, and he's not garbage. But as much as I loved him, if you want to take a chance at him in the supplemental draft with a 3rd round pick, okay, I'm fine with that. Because I have a feeling that when you're a gambling addict, that doesn't go away just because you became an NFLer. And he was betting on his own games. So that's an issue. So he's going to come into the league, I think, under a suspension anyway. But the thing is, I wouldn't go more than a 3rd round pick, because if he doesn't work out, and I think he could work out, which is the sick thing, except that he'll be in the middle of a playoff run and they'll find out he was gambling on the team again and he'll be gone. But
right.
you can't lose that 2nd round pick, because you might need that 2nd round pick to move up to get the quarterback you do want next year. So I would be just as happy as if one of these teams came out and put a 2nd rounder or a 1st rounder for him and we didn't get the chance for him. And then let our quarterback let it happen next year.
It's a risky move. It's also a circus to bring him in. It's it could be a massive distraction to the team. And listen, I hope he gets better with his gambling addiction, but that's a serious problem. You know, I don't personally know people that have been through that, but we know people that have, publicly came out and talked about it. It's a real thing. He's going to get more money if he comes to the NFL. It's not going to translate into more gambling. I know it's easy for us who gamble for fun to say, no way, I would never gamble away my money, but we don't have that addiction, right? So that's the other thing you got to worry about. And I guess, is he good enough to, to deal with all that stuff, that worry, that scare? And I don't know, maybe he is, but I don't know. I wouldn't even touch it. I think you're right, Uncle Teddy. You're better off just like not getting that opportunity to get him and just, continuing the course as is.
He may turn out to be unbelievable somewhere, and if he gets his life back together, but I don't know if you can take that chance.
No, you don't want him anywhere near this city with the amount of distractions and every other place you could possibly get to, and anywhere else. You need him to go somewhere. There's no NFL team in Utah, but somewhere out in that area of the country where there's not much to do and you can focus on regular life as opposed to just thinking about gambling and everything else all in one place. So
yeah, it'll make it worse. But I think the problem is too, like, gambling is so accessible everywhere now. Your phone, which is probably worse than going to the casino. Right? If you
100%.
Even if you don't have a problem, it's worse because you're just literally clicking a button, But I don't know. I would not want him, just because, again, it's not like it's Peyton Manning coming out where you're like, all right, we'll take the shot. He's a generational. He's, at best right now, maybe projected to be solid or pretty good. I just don't think it's worth that. I would not even headache, just worth the risk of what could potentially go wrong. The cons outweigh the pros with him.
Here's what scares you too. It came out today that his people said, he had this problem in Cincinnati and no one addressed it in Cincinnati. Okay, so besides us doing all the things we have to do for you as an NCAA top-ranked quarterback, Now you're saying that you're going to blame Cincinnati because they didn't try to get him into a gambling program. Take a little bit of ownership on what you're doing. It's crazy world, Mike. It's crazy world.
Yep. Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on that, see if anybody takes him in the supplemental draft. Otherwise, he'll be in the UFL or the Canadian Football League or somewhere playing maybe NFL Europe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, quick thought on the World Cup before we go. USA looked really, really good in their first game. It's going to be a fun couple of days here. They're playing Australia in their next game tomorrow on Friday the 19th. And then they play the last game. They play, I forget who the third team in their group is, but they're certainly looking like they're going to win this group and be able to at least hopefully win one or two knockout games, which is really what you want to do at this point. And the crowds have been great. So, and I do also want to shout out all of the Europeans who have been traveling around this country looking at their teams, who have discovered the beautiful places like Waffle House, like Buc-ee's, like all of the diners in the area, all of the great food and great places to go in the U.S. I will say one thing. They said in Boston, the Scottish people were in Boston. They said the alcohol consumption at some of the pubs was 3 times what they get on St. Patrick's Day with the Scottish fans that were going in there. So shout out to them. We will gladly take your money and give you a good time here in the U.S. because if there's one thing we know how to do, it's have a good time and have fun and have excess of whatever you want. You can get it here. And everybody's discovering that. So,
well, you know why they love our food so much, like the Waffle House and they haven't had White Castle yet, by the way, which they got to try. The diner, because they're like, compared to those countries, there's so much crap in our food. They were probably on the toilet all night.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no way their body is going to adjust to the garbage that we're feeding them in the United States of America. There's no chance. So
correct. So,
but listen, it's a different kind of food. It's like us going to wherever, Italy or Ireland, right? Uncle Ted, you went there.
Yeah.
It's just, to them that's normal food. To you, it's like, it's a new thing. So it kind of shocks you in a good way,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I will gladly report on the food in London when I get back from the trip here. So we will let you know how that goes. But I'm looking forward to it. We have all of our food places mapped out, all of our dinners, our teas. We're gonna be it's gonna be a fun week out there. So shout out London Band Week and all of that. So with that, I will kick it to the Mikey Mush pick for the week. We're still waiting on the the Premier Lacrosse League. Those games are tomorrow from last episode. I wanted to try to find something in England that I could bet on while we are there. And I did find something. There is boxing going on this weekend in England. I'm going to take Lewis Edmondson plus 110 against Lyndon Arthur. And then I'm going to take Ryan Garner minus 600 against Michael Magnesi. Both of those fights in Manchester, England, Saturday night the 20th. So Mikey Mush's picks for this week. Little English boxing for you. Put up your Dukes, Markets of Queensberry rules, whatever you want to do over there. And guys, this has been fun. Any last thoughts for either of you guys before we wrap up here?
Safe travels. Fly. I know you're flying. I'm cruising, but safe travels flying over there across the pond.
Yeah, same to you. Enjoy the cruise. Jeff, enjoy your time down there, still in North Carolina. Wish you were joining us, but
I know. Still, I'm coming up actually in late July, early August for a few weeks. So we'll be playing a few rounds of golf. That's for sure when I come up.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fun, guys. Again, please like, subscribe, keep an eye out on the socials. We will be posting things there from our travels all around the world and the country here. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will catch everyone here soon.